Hello everyone, welcome back to another edition of Let's Pew Pew with Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo. This is episode 4, and for today, I'm going to be talking about Frontier's Elite Dangerous. Elite was a game that I began playing some 25 years ago on my Commodore 64, and it was it was the original addictive game for me. I played it over and over and over again, and throughout the day, night, morning, whatever it would be. I remember my mom coming into my room one day and looking at me because she had said goodnight to me and I was playing the game, and then there I was again on a Saturday morning when I had to be at my uncle's pizzeria to work playing the game. Made her really upset, and she took away my Commodore for about a week for that one. But Elite was a space trading game, space combat game, and the actual graphics were just wireframe 3D. I don't even know how to explain it to you. There wasn't anything filled in at the time. It was just wireframe 3D. And the basis of the game was you were dropped in the middle of nowhere, had no money, you get a ship, and you start trading. That wasn't the end of it. You could pick up missions at different space stations, and there were hundreds, maybe thousands, I can't remember, of places to go. You were able to take cargo from one system to the other, and little by little, after writing down on a yellow notepad, you knew what runs would give you the most profit, and you started to make money. As you made money, you bought ship upgrades, and you made your vessel better and better, until the point where you could actually hold your own fighting against the pirates and taking on some mercenary and bounty hunter missions. As you did that, you were gaining fame, notoriety, and you were becoming, different ranks and titles as you moved up. Notorious all the way up to elite. And I remember being dangerous. I remember being, whatever the lowest end that you could be. And that game I played until I reached Elite. It was my original, oh my God, I can't believe I just lost my ship. If you've ever played an MMORPG, something like Ultima Online, I guess, where people could actually not just kill you, but steal all your stuff. That's essentially what would happen when you lost a big ship. Maybe it's more like a Eve is today without the spreadsheets. Well, had I had a spreadsheet back then, I probably would have been using it. Here we are in the commodities market looking for something to purchase, and I think what I settle on is plastics over here. The whole idea of this game is to try to make money and try to build up your ship, just like I said. Well, you start off with a couple of thousand credits, and as you see, I only have 309 credits left. The reason being is because I played this game a few times before we're doing this, and had my rear end handed to me quite a few times. At the end of this first part of the video, I'll show you what combat is like, where I lost the last of my money and had to go back to the starter ship and start making money back again. The whole basis of Richard Braben's idea here is to not give a game that's going to have the fidelity that Star Citizen is going to have. It's to give back that original feeling and gameplay that Elite had. Here's the star map, which we still don't have in Star Citizen. And you can see the little beta area, which is this tiny little globe of stars. I think it's about 7 star systems that you could fly between. And they have all different allegiances. Some are going to be independent, some are going to have none, and some are going to have Federation, which is a governing body, kind of like the UEE. No aliens right now that I can see. The the Federation controls the space that you're in over here. Some of these places are very bad to go to because they are lawless, and if you go in there, that's where all the people that have been playing the game for a while go, and then they pretty much chew you to pieces. I wandered into one of those because I found a nice little route that I could go there and dump off some food and pick up some really cheap, I think it was minerals. But the minute I left the space station, because there is no law-abiding citizen in that area, I got destroyed. Here's another cool part about this. You get to take off yourself, and everything here is being done with the X55. They have an amazing implementation of the X55, so much so that I'm still using it. Everything that I'm doing in this game is all with the X55, and none of it is using keyboard and mouse. Very, very, very intuitive. They make use of almost all of the different pieces of it. Oh, that's not the time I crashed on the way out. So what I'm doing here is I just picked up some plastics, and we're going to go fly off. I believe it is to iBoots, to Chango Station. And I believe that's where we're going. No, we're not. We're going to All In. I think this is where I find out that it isn't a good run, and I wind up at Chango, Station afterwards. The station that we just left is essentially a big cube, and the one that we're going to is one of the newer stations, which is like a spinning wheel that you would see in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Here we are charging our jump drive, and we're about ready to enter the Stargate-like jump tunnel, wormhole tunnel. Here we go. And just like the Millennium Falcon, we are in hyperspace. And if you look to the right, the arc that is on the right side of the circle will give you how fast you're going right now in C. All right, we've now gotten to the other star system. We veer away from the star so we don't get pulled out. And we find the station, which is going to be All In Enterprise. And again, everything being done with the X55. And we lock in the destination, point ourselves there. There we go. And head off towards the station. The problem here is I'm going way too fast, so I'm probably going to overshoot it. I believe I might be smart enough not to overshoot it for this one. Of course, I'm doing this all post gameplay. Sorry about the countless numbers of email and text messages you're going to hear me get. This is a work day for me. All right, so we are off to All In Enterprise to try to sell the plastic, which I'm sure we're not going to be able to. But for this run, pretty much it's going to be showing you one of the vast size of the space stations and how to do interstellar travel. So David Braben's idea is to give us gameplay, give us that engaging, addictive gameplay that we had way back in the day when Elite came out, that most of you that listen to this probably weren't even alive for or coherent for. Let's put it that way. And gameplay is where they're really focusing on, including having a persistent universe that also uses procedural generation of star systems. That way, you could fly off to any one of those stars that are in front, on the star map, and they don't have to go and actually build up the star system and what's on the planet and what kind of space station is around it. All right, we're being interdicted right now. It happens a lot in Enterprise space. They want to make sure you're not carrying contraband. And we're going to be scanned. So as you're watching that, I'll talk a little bit more. So David Braben's idea is to model all 4 billion stars, I think that it is, or 4 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy. I think that's kind of over the top, but essentially what he's doing is allowing us to play the game our own way, to give us the ultimate sandbox, more so than any other game that I've seen. All right, so we have our scan. Let's go take a look at this police cruiser and see what it looks like, so you get an idea of the size of the vessels. I still haven't figured out how to get an outside view of my ship to show you, but I could show you a view of this Federation cruiser. Here we go by, and modeled beautifully. Again, not as detailed as the ships in Star Citizen, but they do their job here. This game is going to be able to be played on a vast majority of the systems that are out there right now, whereas Star Citizen is going to need a heavy-duty graphic card. In fact, I see in David Braben's list, or I should say in Frontier's goals, that there'll even be a Mac version, which gives you an idea of how playable this will be on different systems. Not knocking Mac at all, I'm just saying not always getting the high-end games, right? So here we are going back the next 25,000 kilometers towards All-In Enterprises. And you figure that's only 12,500 miles, right? But we're going to frame shift nonetheless because we don't want to spend hours here flying between. And again, we're going to try to keep the speed not too high. So when you look to the left right now, there it is, All-In Enterprises, alignment, distance, and speed. That tells us how we're getting there. So we want to keep the speed in the blue to be able to disengage when the distance is in the blue. And of course, alignment has to be in the blue. If all those are in that bluish color, then when we hit the C key, which is the only time I have to use the keyboard right now because I haven't figured out which one of the toggle switches on the X55 actually does take me out of frame shift, we get out of frame shift. All right, so David Braben is giving us this game to pretty much build our own existence in this persistent universe that they're creating for us. Yes, it's multiplayer, as you'll see in the upcoming piece of it, as I put myself on the line and pretty much kill myself. So here I am trying to get back towards the 130 kilometers now, which is going to take forever. I think I frame shift one more time just to get there. So the game is modeling things like heat dissipation, same thing that's going on in Star Citizen. Being able to go stealth, to kill all heat and just sit by an asteroid or out in dead space, waiting for somebody. And as you see with the piece where we were pulled out of hyperspace, if anyone's ever played the X-Wing franchise or TIE Fighter franchise, there were interdictor Star Destroyers that had big gravity wells on it that would pull any ships going by that system out of hyperspace. And that's being modeled here too. I know there's a lot more, and I'm going to do more videos on this as time goes on. I'm firing my pulse laser just to give you an idea. And there you see the pulse laser using all its energy. So there's two things that you have to manage with the pulse laser. It's heat buildup and energy. And if you look to the right of the shield and damage indicator, almost to the far right of the screen, you have system, engine, and weapons. And there are keys, I should say, there's a thumb hat on the X55 where I can move priorities between those three. Obviously, when traveling interstellarly, I'm going to have most of it in engine and systems. That way, if I do get interdicted by a ship, I can keep my speed up and recharge my shields really fast. If you look right now, I have 3 bars of shields, which gives me a lot of protection. All right, heading off to All-In, and I think what we need to do here is just go into frame shift. This is a far distance to travel. So what I like about this game is that it is extremely playable. What I don't like about this game is that the buildup of your ship in the beginning is very boring. I wonder if this is going to be what it's like in Star Citizen. One thing I have to say is the game is not done. This is a premium beta, which can still be considered an alpha. There's only a few star systems that you can fly between. I don't hear any voice communications going on, like feeling that I'm in a persistent world. When I go and ask for clearance to land, like I'm going to here in a few moments, I don't get a human voice telling me that I've been cleared to land. I don't hear the air traffic controller or space traffic controller guiding other ships in. What I do hear is just the silence of space, and I'm sure these are all things that are going to be put in the game as time goes on. If you know who Scott Manley is, he does a video where he uses the Track IR, which I wish I could buy. Maybe I'll put that up there for people to think about purchasing for me. Nah, I don't know. I don't know what I should do with things like that. I don't have all the money in the world, and I've barely even made $100 over 8 months on my videos. But I do them because I like to do them, not to make money. I do want to bring you more content, and at times that means either buying money for a game, getting a microphone stand, or you know, getting other pieces of gaming hardware that make it easier for me to do reviews for all of you. So I've got to think my way through those. So here we are getting closer to this huge wheel of I mean, this is huge. You don't get an idea of how big it is because it should really be filling the cockpit screen a little bit bigger than this. But as you get closer, because we're going very fast right now, you'll start to get an idea of just how big this space station is. So with Track IR, you could look left, look right, look up, look down, and track the different pieces of it. And I wouldn't have to move the hat switch to see my, or there it is, to see my communications and navigation console. And I'm going over to contacts and up to all in enterprises. And I'm going to request docking. And this is what I'm saying. No voice communications whatsoever. Just a little bluish, aqua-ish indicator telling me to land on pad 38. One of the pieces I love about this is you actually get to land, and it makes you, I guess it keeps the immersion in there. So this is the inside of the space station, rather quick, or I should say the docking port of the space station. Able to handle 30 some odd vessels at a time, or 40 some odd vessels. So we're going down towards it. And then we have lateral and vertical thrusters on here that'll let us touch down on this pad in just a few seconds. So we're looking up, looking down as we get closer, and you can see my joystick. And I'm telling you, that joystick was mimicking exactly what I was doing, which is pretty funny. So we're moving forward, and now you get an indicator that tells you how to dock. We're going to slide forward just a little bit. Here we go, sliding forward. And then we're going to laterally move to the right. Go on, laterally move to the right. Line it up. We're in. And settle her down on the pad. And just really slowly settle down on the pad, and we've got capture. So now at this particular point, we're going to be able to get to Starport Services and find out that I wasted this trip because I really didn't know that this place was going to have the same price for plastics, but we're still going to go through this because it's pretty important. So we go to commodities market. I don't know why I'm waiting. Come on, past me. Let's get this moving. There we go. Maybe I hit it and there was a slow internet connection. So I'm going to scroll down to plastics. And if you look over here, sell to market 28 credits. Now look over there. I bought it for 31. It tells you what you bought it for. Nuts, right? Really nuts. All right. So that's pretty much it for the first part of this video. The next part of this video, we're going to talk about combat, which I do not have a lot of experience at, and there are tons of videos out there on combat in this game. Nonetheless, I'm going to talk about it and give you my impression of it at this point. To be honest with you, just up front, the combat in this game is pretty much no different than the combat I remember in the original Elite series of games. Only I did not decouple this time and do any wanky physics movements. So this is a run that I made just prior to the one I did. This is where I lost my ship and all the money and stuff I had spent. So we're getting pulled out of space by another player, which I think is freaking amazing. All right? So I'm not upset. I'm frustrated, but not upset. And it didn't ruin my gameplay at all. So there's that guy that just pulled me out, and he's pretty much telling you have a choice. I could dump my cargo or make his day, and I had every intention of doing this and just dumping this save file beforehand. There he is. I'm trying to stay with him, and of course if you look at throttle, I do manage the throttle. See it? It's on the right. And he just comes through. Where is he? Ooh, we can't line him up. I'm trying to figure out how to lock him. I don't know the... Oh, there it is. I locked him. I don't know the button on there. And he just pretty much destroys me. Look at this. Got through my first round of shields. And now taking out my second round of shields real quick. And of course, at this particular point, the only thing I should have been doing is telling myself to get out of here. He's in an eagle. An eagle is a higher end, much more maneuverable and faster ship. So I've taken out his shields twice. Did you see that? And now I'm playing the game where I'm just going to keep firing on him. And going head on because I figure I'm going to die anyway because I couldn't get my frame shift engine back online. So we've gotten him a couple of times. There we go. But we do not have the same rate of roll or pitch that he does. He's just not playing the ship very well. I take this back. This is one of the interdictions that I survived. Later on, I die, and I will skip to that just to show you guys what that's like. Alright, so he's continuously trying to jank and move around, and the pulse lasers are pretty good at getting on him. This particular pulse laser is not gimbaled. Other ones later on that you can purchase will be, and they will be able to follow him a little bit better. One thing good about the early weapons is that they're cheap and they don't build up a lot of heat. And here we go, at him again. And we've destroyed his shields. He's almost destroyed ours. And we're getting good hits on him. We've turned his hull red, if you look at it on the left. So we've gotten some good hits on him. And at some point he's going to say, you know what? This person in the Sidewinder is just a little bit better than I thought they were going to be. I'm going to start a ship. I don't stink at these games, but I'm definitely not awesome at these games. But I bet you anything he was expecting to find somebody that really stunk at this game. There he goes. And again, ooh, we hit each other. I forgot about that. I don't know if damage is actually modeled in that. You'll notice just before that happened, my lasers had been at maximum heat. So I've been using them way too much, and the heat has not dissipated yet. I've got full... Oh my god, he's tearing me apart. Maybe he does kill me in this one. I'm not sure. Alright, here we go, jinking around again. Getting some good hits on him. Took out one round of shields. And there goes the other round of shields right now. And he's jinking round and round. Alright, so the actual gameplay here is similar to what we're going to have one-on-one inside of Star Citizen. But it's really not so bad, and had I had better weapons like he does, I'm sure I would have taken him out. If I had the same exact ship as this guy, I would have been done. I think, yeah, my shields are back online. His aren't, as of yet. But I think this is where he pretty much says, see you later. We've already been fighting way too long. And of course what I failed to remember is I got to stay close. Otherwise, the further away you are, you can make these maneuvers all day long, but you're still pretty much in the same general area, and his weapons will probably are gimbaled and able to track me. So I closed the distance a little bit. My shields went offline, and I'm going to spin around and stop trying to use my thrust boosters, my afterburners if it was in real atmospheric flight. And I'm just going to try to get my Pipper on the target. And again, take out his shields. So his shields are offline, my shields are offline. So we're both in the same boat. And there his shields go off again. Mine should come back up right now. There they go. My shields are rebuilding. You could see the arc with the little boxes going in. When they reach all the way to the end. Oh, he just frame shifted out of there. Did you see that? He's gone. So essentially, that is what combat is like. So now, we're going to frame shift out of here. We've got our shields back online. Our hull is probably down to like negative percentage points. And we're going to try to get the bejesus out of here and go to a low conflict zone, which I thought meant had a bunch of newbies in it and wouldn't have high level people in it. So we go shooting off to this area, only to meet my demise. Okay, we're in frame shift now. Sometimes frame shift takes a little bit longer to begin than I would like. So frame shift is on. We're going to make sure that we have Azerbaijan city locked as our destination. That way, if we need to frame shift out of there, we can get out of there. So we're headed off. And again, the travel here is the boring part of it. I like the ability to see my runs mean something. So for the time being, for like the next week or so, what I'm going to be focusing on is making my ship better. And I will be doing that so I can get a better ship with better weapons and come out here and do some real combat testing to show you what it's about. I really do not like the combat testing in the... Oh, they have a bunch of missions that you could play solo, and they're pretty good at teaching you combat, but I wasn't entirely happy with some of the missions. I mean, they end very quickly or they take forever. Those are the two varying missions. You're either fighting one guy or three guys or a really, really, really big guy. All right, we're interdicted again, which is not a good thing. It's probably coming into the combat zone. I think this is where Dark Vader, Darth Vader, Dark Vader, another, there he is. Is that him? Yeah, it's Dark Vader. You don't want to die. He goes, empty your hold. So this, I thought I was going to be able to get away. He's in a Sidewinder. Look, but he's armed to the tooth. Armed to bear. And he's a good player, not like the other guy, the Call of Duty guy. He comes at me and destroys me with rapidity that I've never seen before. And I'm still sitting here trying to target him. By the time I target him, I'm gone. So he must have some higher... Yeah, he does. You could see. He's got much better lasers, and they tear through me real... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shield's gone. I'm dead. See ya. Oxygen depleted in 9 minutes and 51 seconds. About the amount of time it would take me to get back and land. So if I was actually able to get out of here, I would have been fine. You see the different pieces of the ship going out, and then bang, I'm dead. So you got an idea of combat, you got an idea of trading, and then here you have an idea of what happens if you're stupid like me. You get your ship back, no money, and have to start all over again. And that's pretty much what this game was like in the past, and why I love it so much today. Well, that's the end of Let's Pew Pew Episode 4. Y'all be safe out there, and I'll see you soon.